So once again, welcome everyone. It's our honor and pleasure to host another CEP online webinar. This fifth session is about the assessment. For us in the Confederation of European Probation and for all our members, assessment in probation is a very important tool to know how to work with the offenders. This is why assessment as a topic is not a news for followers of the CEP. If you record, I know some of you attended, a year ago in the November, on 15th November 2023, we had a webinar on the topic of the assessment. That was the time when we presented the Belgian and the model from the Netherlands. We had two speakers from the university who showed us the importance and the relevance of the assessment tools. Also, we gave you some food for thought because we went outside of the scope of the Europe, because we also had a guest from New Zealand who did talk about the assessment on different parts of the world. So having said that, if you need more information about what we did before regarding the assessment, you can still find information on the CEP website. Today, we are back home in Europe, and today we will learn more about the system in Georgia. Before I go to our speaker of the day, let me also highlight that today with me, I have two CEP policy officers co-hosting this webinar. One is Mirka Yakeshova, that I think everybody knows because she is the person behind all the emails that you received regarding this webinar. And the second policy officer is Ana Esquera, who is also with us today. They will be helping us to go through the house rules and everything that we will have as a panel discussion after the lecture. I'm happy to welcome our dear colleague and our speaker for the day, Gio, from the Georgian National Agency for Crime Prevention, Execution of Non-Custodial Sentences and Probation. Gio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jana. It's a pleasure to be here now and represent National Agency for Probation of Georgia. At the beginning, I would like to say a few words about our agency. During past few years, we tried our best to make some changes in the probation system, and we did it. We started several new projects, some of which were innovative, and the executive summary of Stefan Pitts and Leo Tykes. The findings of this executive summary is very, very encouraging for us. This summary you can find in CEP website. And also encouraging was the positive appraisal from the report of European Commission in 2023. These findings and results are strong incentives for us to, let me start with a brief overview of case management process in our system. The case management starts from analysis of official documentation and initial interview with the convicts by the probation officer. After that, he determines, using the risk and needs assessment instrument, he determines the need of involvement of additional specialists in the case management process, which may be a social worker and or psychologist. Then additional specialist conducts a comprehensive interview with the convict, if the necessary visits to the residence of convicts to see living conditions, the relationships with the family members, and after that, its end, multidisciplinary team make a decision involving all the specialists in the case management process. And they decide whether the convict needs any intervention and what type of intervention. And after that, the rehabilitation service is delivered. Um, aforementioned interview and the assessment is based on the risk and needs assessment instrument. This is RNA abbreviation, and I will use this abbreviation in my speech, RNA. RNA was implemented in Georgian probation system in 2020, but the creation process started in 2018. With support from the United European Union Technical Project and while the development by the support of British expert Danny Clark. At first, there was a piloting phase during which we observed how the sentences and questions were formulated, how the scores of the instrument reflected the likelihood of reoffense. And after that, we made some changes, some adaptation work. The piloting phase took several months, and 92 beneficiaries were included. Before the RNA instrument, we had old risk and needs assessment tool, which was less sophisticated instrument than current RNA. Because it was the trajectories where all the instruments show the trajectories based only a risk of harm screening, which means that it had not any scoring system. That's why majority of the convicts referred to psychologists from the probation officer and less to the social worker. And there was a high workload on psychologists. All of these does not give a realistic picture of the risks and needs of convicts. What the piloting phase showed us is that it was obvious that the majority of convicts, there was a need of include social worker in the first place, and the majority of offenders were not high risk. I want to briefly mention about algorithm of the RNA. The algorithm is not obvious and accessible to specialists because it is internal architecture of the instrument. and it's not complex algorithm. It is just arithmetical manipulation. What the algorithm do? Algorithm converts input information to the scores. So there is a row score. The instrument contains a row score and weighted score. Each of the factors have the scoring system, and this is a row score. And after the algorithm, if you fill the RNA instrument, the algorithm gives you a weighted score. What does weighted score means? It means that different factors have different factors within the RNA have different weighted score based on available evidence, meaning that some statements in the RNA more likely indicate future reoffense than other statements. For example, economic well-being has a lower weighted score than antisocial relations or motivation to change. Accordingly, based on the information you input, the algorithm as an output gives you a score about the probability of reoffense. I often remind specialists that the instrument is just a tool, and the accuracy and quality of the results is up to you. It's depend on evaluators' expertise. I will highlight four main components of the RNA. This is serious risk of harm screening, static criminogenic factors, dynamic factors, and multidisciplinary team summary. Let's go further in each one. Serious risk of harm refers a likelihood of significant harm from the human behavior. It's not which may be directed to others and oneself. And it's not surprising that the statements in this part refer to life and health, how it whether it endangers life and health. This part is small, consists only 10 statements, and probation officer requires to answer such questions such as whether the convict committed intentional violent crime, whether he has difficulties with substance abuse, whether he exhibits destructive tendencies, conflictual characteristics, and etc. Static factors, as you may already know, refers fixed circumstances of person and crime, which remains stable. And it includes mainly demographical information of the RNA and crime-related information based on official documentation. Static factors constitute a significant portion of the total score. This is important because static factors is based on fixed circumstances, facts, and behavior is already done. And this is important because psychology teaches us that behavior is a valuable indicator, reliable indicator of future behavior. That's why we need to pay attention to static factors. Before dynamic factors, it's worth to note that the sum of the score of static factors and risk of harm screening determines the need for the involvement of specialists, social worker, and psychologist in the assessment process. So, probation officer, based on the risk of harm screening and static factors, decides to involve these mentioned specialists. After that comes dynamic criminogenic factors, which refers to changeable circumstances of the person, and relying solely on the static factors while predicting reoffending is inefficient, because life changes, individual change, his life change, and here is where dynamic factors come into play. Because the dynamic factors is key targets of intervention, because it's subject to change, and it can even greater importance if we consider this. So any positive shift in dynamic factors reflect our work, our effectiveness. Dynamic factors include 14 thematic blocks in total, as you see in the slide. All of these share similar structure. So statements with possible answers and scoring. Each statement is given points, except of health-related thematic blocks, because health issues is not directly related to crime. It does not necessarily lead to crime. That's why it does not give any point, is not given a point, but of course it is taken into account in final decision. Here is an example of one of the thematic block, motivation for change. This is a shorter one, consists of 3 statements with possible answers with scores. Notice that I mentioned statement, not the question, because the RNA, as I mentioned, is semi-structured by design. So there is a statements, not the questions. For example, the statement 2, the offender cannot understand exactly what needs to change. This is a statement with who can score how he understands it. Each of a thematic block is accompanied by a summary evaluation of risk, how it relates to how this thematic block relates to offense or likelihood of offending, how much is risk the convict pose, low, medium, or high, and there is also a space for additional commentary for protective factors or some other commentaries. So each thematic block has the same structure as seen in the slides. As for multidisciplinary team, this is a summative and crucial part of the RNA instrument because the team is ultimately responsible for final decision, and decision regards identified needs, need for intervention, and a team includes all the specialists included in the case management process, and the team draws individual plan for executing sentence and determine obligatory measures aiming at reducing risk and likelihood of reoffending. RNA is implemented in probation system as well as in penitentiary system, and it bridges the gap between these institutions, meaning that it will be utilized. RNA will be utilized for monitoring and assessing even after convict releases from the custody. I mentioned will be utilized because the transitory management process agreement procedures is still going on. This is a ongoing process we are doing now to implement that after release when the convict gets in the prison, he is assessed by RNA, and after release from the custody and entering in our system, the same RNA will be utilized. So the process will be continuous. And it's important to mention some of the challenges of the RNA we face in our work. The instrument uses the algorithm to provide final score about the likelihood of reoffense, but it tells less about specific crimes. For example, domestic violence. As we all know, domestic violence occurs in the family mainly, mostly in a private space. Often it's hard to identify, it's often hidden. Therefore, we are implementing additional assessment tool known as SPAPRA, which is immediate. This is a tool for assessing immediate risk of violence of intimate partner, and this will give the opportunity to direct our first to identify better and catch better the risk of the immediate violence, and direct our resources to the relevant relevant direction. For example, to notify the Ministry of Internal Affairs, police. The same is true. Same is true in suicide risk. That's why we're planning to implement suicide risk identification tool. We have the same for juveniles already, but not for adults, and we're now to implement it. The principle is same. In case of suicide risk, immediate risk, we need to identify it, and in the case of this, to notify emergency service. The RNA is used now, is utilized for adult convicts and adult offenders, not for juveniles. And our future plan is to we have already done but not implemented yet, to implement a modified version of RNA for juveniles known as junior RNA, jRNA. And it will be for juvenile offenders, and this junior RNA shares the similar structure and almost similar content as for as a version for adults. And junior RNA can be utilized for assessment of juveniles within the framework of mediation, diversion and mediation program, and for to utilize for preparing individual assessment report for the judge and sentence hearing, for example. This is all in brief what I wanted to share you. Hope it was informative. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gio. This was excellent. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you for explaining everything about your assessment tool, but also to talking about the different versions for specific categories. And for me, it was very important to hear how the same tool is implemented both in prison and probation, so that you have a continuous assessment of the offenders. So thank you so much for this. I give a floor now to my dear colleague Mirka. Mirka, I know that you already have some comments and that you have some questions in the question part.
Yeah. Before we have some questions in the Q&A tool, but I would like to start, if I can, use this opportunity that I'm here. And I would like to ask you, because I'm not sure you mentioned, is there any specific training that your probation staff should undertake before using the tool?
Thanks, Mirka, for question. Sure, we continuously do training sessions for new coworkers to introduce RNA tool, and after starting work, to be sure that they can handle it, they can use it effectively. So this is continuous process. Thank you a lot for this possibility. Thank you for questions, for interest, and wish you all the best, all of you.
I would like to just use this opportunity and thank everyone for being with us all the year, with us with these 5 webinars. All the best in the rest of 2024, and we see each other back in 2025.